Hello, my name is Caleb Morris. Today I'm going to be giving you guys an overview of the 2001-2003 trial of Michael Peterson involving the death of his wife, Kathleen Peterson. So it all started on December 9th, 2001, when Michael Peterson had called 911 to say that he had found his wife at the bottom of a staircase, surrounded by a pool of blood in their North Carolina home. He proceeded to say that she was still breathing, and as the 911 dispatcher sent an ambulance to their house, the dispatcher began asking a series of questions. Michael at the time was too frantic to answer these questions, so he proceeded to hang up. A couple minutes later, he called back, saying that she was not breathing anymore and demanded to know where the ambulance was at. As police arrived upon the scene, it was clear to them that there was suspicion on the death of Kathleen Peterson. They began to bring Michael Peterson in for questioning and had decided that there was enough evidence that they need to at least try to go to trial. After bringing all the evidence to the table, a judge ruled that there was enough evidence that this case should go to trial. The prosecution side mainly focused on the staircase, and all the blood spatter that was in there. This is what they had going for them. All they had to do was prove, using expert testimony, that the blood spatter all goes in one direction, which means that it is consistent with a beating rather than a fall down the stairs. While the defense, their goal was to prove that the blood spatter had come from a fall rather than a beating and an assault. So as the trial began, both sides used expert testimony to try to prove whether the blood spatter was in one direction or the other. There was no clear-cut evidence until a guy named Duane Deaver had given her testimony saying that he had done experiments with videos of these experiments showing that the way that Michael must have been standing and all this stuff based on the blood spatter on his shorts and everything else on the blood spatter on the wall and stuff like that as well. So it was clear that, to the jury at least, that these experiments by Duane Deaver do in fact prove that Michael Peterson had beaten his wife to death. So the verdict that the jury had come up with was that Michael Peterson was guilty of first-degree murder of his wife, Kathleen Peterson. What followed this verdict was a series of appeals and other ways to try to get out of going to prison, because Michael was sentenced to life in prison with no chance for parole. So after 8 years of failed appeals, there became Duane Deaver actually had been proven to have misguided information that he was giving the trials, that he was giving the trials, saying, and he was also withholding information as well. In doing so, Michael Peterson saw an opportunity to prove that what Duane Deaver had done in this case had been done in a multitude of cases, including his own. So then he filed an appeal saying that all the information that Duane Deaver had proposed should be taken out. And this would absolutely kill the prosecution's case and exonerate Michael. So after all this information had been presented to the table, a judge had decided that a retrial needed to be in order. So after this retrial, before the retrial had started, Michael had seen what other options there were for him, because at the time the retrial was expected to last 1.5 to 2 years. So as Michael weighed these options, he was 73 years old and feared that the stress of this would eventually kill him before he was exonerated. So he looked at other options and he decided that the best option for him would be an Alford plea. So an Alford plea is where you admit to doing a crime in order to get either a lesser sentence or anything like that. So he, to this day, still says that he did not murder his wife, and he stands by that with his whole heart, and I personally believe him, but that is not the point. He actually said that he was guilty of involuntary manslaughter, which gave him time served, and and he is now exonerated, and he is not exonerated, he is now free on the streets and living back in North Carolina. The main point in this whole trial was the Duane Deaver evidence. And it was proven that Duane Deaver, instead of following a scientific process, was more focused on trying to recreate the end result to favor the prosecution so that way they can get convictions. And that is not the way that science should work. And this man was given he was served in prison for 8.5 years based on the information that Duane Deaver had presented to a court and misled the jury. It is clear that this sort of thing does happen in other cases and has happened in other cases as people get exonerated from crimes every once in a while. We as a society need to crack down on these types of incidences and prove and make sure that the scientific methods that are being presented to juries are ones that can be backed by evidence, not just in favor of one side or the other. Thank you.